Today, we will be reviewing the West Mesa Bone Collector. In February 2009, a woman walking her dog in West Mesa, an elevated landmass in Albuquerque, New Mexico, made a horrifying discovery. Embedded in the dirt was human bone. When the police arrived, that single bone would reveal a crime scene that spread across the mesa and uncovered 11 bodies. All 11 bodies were females. It took Albuquerque police weeks to uncover all the bodies that were scattered over a 92-acre area. This was to be the largest crime scene in Albuquerque history. Within a month, police were able to identify 4 of the victims. Each all were sex workers who had gone missing years prior. Once all the victims were identified, they knew they were between the ages of 15 and 35, and majority of them were Hispanic. The women had gone missing between 2001 and 2005. One victim, 22-year-old Michelle Valdez, had been 4 months pregnant at the time of her murder. 15-year-old Selania Edwards was the only African-American victim and was the only one with ties outside of New Mexico. She was a runaway from Oklahoma. This became a shock to the community. As most places have their fair share of murders, New Mexico had never had a serial killer in the state since its inception. Police promised the families that the case would be their top priority, and initially that was the case. Investigators assembled a team of detectives, brought in FBI profilers to help. Law enforcement agencies around the state gave the resources and man-hours to help push the investigation along. Officially, the deaths of all 11 women were homicides, but that wasn't entirely true. The medical examiners and forensic experts couldn't quite figure out how exactly the women died, and that is highly unusual. No witnesses came forward in any of the cases, and there was no forensic evidence at the scenes. With the case still unsolved, the APD refuses to call this a cold case, while also saying they won't name any suspect involved. Law enforcement has been unable to determine who is the West Mesa Bone Collector. But there are a few theories. The first is a man named Joseph Blea. Blea's wife Cheryl originally suspected him of being the West Mesa Bone Collector. He had a collection of women's jewelry at his home that did not belong to his wife or his daughter. They also found a stash of women's underwear in the backyard shed. Authorities were already looking into Blea for his bad habits of stalking prostitutes in the East Central neighborhood. He had been arrested previously for exposing himself in public. When the police finally caught up to Blea, he had electrical tape and rope in his possession. Even his ex-wife April had called the police and said she believed he was responsible for the murders in West Mesa. So far, nothing has definitively connected him to the crimes. Blea is currently serving a 36-year sentence for raping a 13-year-old girl. Law enforcement says Blea usually wore a ski mask and was armed with a knife. And then there's Lorenzo Montoya, a man with a suspicious criminal background. He was arrested in 1999 for attempting to strangle a prostitute that he had picked up and taken to a secluded location. In 2006, Montoya died after the boyfriend of Sherrick Hill, another prostitute, murdered him. Montoya had hired Hill, then tied her up and strangled her. But when she didn't emerge from Montoya's at the time she said she would, her boyfriend, who she had brought with her, approached the house and killed Montoya in self-defense. Suspiciously, the West Mesa murders stopped after Montoya was killed, leading the authorities to conclude that he may have been the killer. Who do you believe was responsible for the murders of these women? If you have information, please contact the Albuquerque Police Department.